Admiral Kim stood rigid on the command deck as the massive alien vessel entered Earth's orbit. The ship dwarfed humanity's largest space stations, its hull reflecting sunlight in patterns that seemed deliberately intimidating. Earth's most advanced scanners struggled to map its structure, revealing technology centuries beyond human capability. "They're hailing us, sir," Lieutenant Park said, her voice steady despite the tension that gripped the bridge crew. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing Ambassador Tai, the hegemony representative. His crystalline exoskeleton gleamed under the lights of his ship. The alien stood nearly 3 meters tall, with multiple limbs arranged in a pattern that human minds found difficult to track. His translucent skin revealed pulsing organs of unknown purpose. "People of Earth," Ta began, voice translated through Earth's systems, "the Galactic Hegemony welcomes you to the greater community of spacefaring species. We require annual tribute as acknowledgement of our protection. Resources, technology, and human representatives will be collected in 3 standard months." The bridge fell silent. 6 months ago, humanity had celebrated sending its first faster-than-light probe beyond the solar system. The achievement had apparently caught the attention of powers they never knew existed. Admiral Kim maintained his composure. "I must refer this matter to Earth's governing authorities." "Of course," Ambassador Tay replied with a gesture that might have been amusement. "We will remain in orbit to answer questions. A formal delegation will arrive in 3 months to collect the first tribute." The transmission ended abruptly. Within an hour, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Leaders from around the world gathered in New York, their faces grim as satellite footage of the alien vessel played on screens around the chamber. President Lee of the United Korean Republic sat at the center table, her face remaining impassive as she reviewed the transmission in the United Nations emergency chamber. "And if we refuse?" she asked when the recording finished. The alien ambassador's response played again. "Refusal is not advised. The hegemony has encountered many civilizations at your development stage. All have eventually recognized our authority, one way or another." After the transmission ended, the emergency council erupted in debate. General Song slammed his fist on the table. "This isn't diplomacy. It's extortion," he shouted over the chaos. "We should mobilize immediately." "Mobilize what exactly?" the European Federation representative countered. "Their ship alone could likely neutralize our combined space forces. We need time to understand what we're facing." Director Han, head of Global Intelligence, stepped forward with data tablets. Screens around the room displayed information as she spoke. "We've intercepted communications between the hegemony vessel and other systems. Our intelligence suggests other tribute worlds are systematically exploited until little remains. The hegemony follows a standard pattern. First contact, demand for tribute, then gradually increasing demands until the planet is effectively stripped of resources." "How many worlds are under their control?" asked President Lee. "Based on the communications we've decoded, at least 300 systems. They refer to a classification system for tribute worlds. Some appear to be mineral sources, others provide biological specimens, and some serve as military outposts." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. "We have 3 months to decide Earth's fate," Director Han added quietly. The following days saw unprecedented global cooperation. Old enemies shared military intelligence, corporations opened their research databases, and scientists worked around the clock analyzing the limited data they could gather from the hegemony vessel. A week after first contact, a diplomatic team led by Ambassador Min boarded a shuttle to the alien ship. They carried questions prepared by Earth's united governments. Ambassador Ta received them in a chamber designed to accommodate human physiology, though the gravity was slightly stronger than Earth normal. Guards with weapons built into their exoskeletons stood silently along the walls. "We appreciate your willingness to answer our questions," Min began formally. "It is standard protocol," Tai replied. "The transition to tribute status proceeds more smoothly with proper understanding." "What exactly constitutes tribute in the hegemony's view?" Tai activated a holographic display showing resource quotas. The numbers made Min's blood run cold. The mineral demands alone would require stripping entire mountain ranges. The biological specimens category called for 10,000 humans annually. This would devastate our economy and ecology, Min protested. Initial quotas are always challenging, Tai acknowledged without concern. Most worlds adapt their production methods. The alternative is demonstration of hegemony military capacity, which typically results in greater resource loss. The veiled threat hung in the air. When the diplomatic team returned to Earth, they brought detailed scans of the hegemony vessel, data captured by hidden devices in their equipment. Earth scientists immediately began analysis, looking for any weakness. 2 weeks after first contact, a secret meeting convened in an underground facility beneath the Himalayas. Only 20 people attended, representing Earth's most powerful nations and brightest scientific minds. Direct resistance is suicide, General Song admitted, his earlier bravado subdued after reviewing the hegemony's weapons capabilities. Their ship could target any city on Earth with pinpoint precision. Appeasement is slower suicide, Director Han countered. Once we begin paying tribute, they'll simply demand more until Earth is exhausted. Professor Kang, the physicist who had developed Earth's faster-than-light theory, stepped forward. I believe there's a third option. All eyes turned to her. The hegemony expects either submission or futile resistance, but they don't understand humans. We've analyzed their communications and found something fascinating. They have no concept of abandoning a homeworld. In their culture, territory is everything. What are you suggesting? President Lee asked. We leave, Kang said simply. We evacuate Earth. The room erupted in protests, but Kang continued. Not permanently. We've reverse-engineered enough from their scanning systems to develop stealth technology they can't detect. We build ships, evacuate our population to temporary colonies, and let them have an empty planet. Evacuate 8 billion people. Someone objected. Impossible. Not if we commit everything to it, Kang insisted. We have 3 months. We can save most of our population, our knowledge, our culture. Then, when we're ready, we can fight back from positions they don't know exist. Director Han nodded gravely. The hegemony communications show no precedent for this strategy. They might not even consider it possible. President Lee studied the proposed plan. This would require absolute global cooperation and secrecy, the biggest migration in human history. And our only chance, Kang replied. As the alien vessel loomed overhead, humanity began its most audacious plan, not to fight, not to submit, but to vanish before the Empire's very eyes. Professor Kang squinted at the holographic display, analyzing the hegemony ship's energy signatures. Her eyes burned from lack of sleep, but there was no time for rest. Every minute counted. She adjusted the scanner settings, and the alien vessel's power core appeared in greater detail. Their technology is advanced, but not incomprehensible. We've made significant progress reverse engineering their scanning systems, she said to the team gathered around her laboratory. Excellent, Colonel Ju replied, his military uniform crisp despite the 18-hour workday. Operation Phantom depends on it. The colonel examined the 3D model of the alien vessel. Earth scientists had secretly mapped nearly 70% of the hegemony ship during the diplomatic meetings. Each time Ambassador Min's team visited the aliens, they carried increasingly sophisticated scanning equipment hidden in ordinary items. Pens, buttons, even artificial joints of 2 elderly diplomats. The key is understanding their detection systems, Professor Kang continued. They rely on quantum-based scanners that identify matter through subatomic vibrations. We can mask those vibrations with the right energy field. Colonel Ju nodded. How soon can we begin production of the stealth systems? We already have. Factories around the world have retooled. We're producing components under the guise of new satellite technology. The hegemony is watching, but they don't understand what they're seeing. Across the planet, preparations accelerated. Military exercises were conducted under the guise of tribute collection drills. Soldiers practiced loading and unloading massive containers, supposedly for the coming tribute, but actually for evacuation supplies. Underground facilities expanded rapidly as mining operations went into overdrive, explained to the hegemony as preparation for mineral extraction. In orbit, construction of tribute transfer stations provided cover for the assembly of stealth evacuation ships. The hegemony observers noted this activity with approval, unaware that each orbital platform contained hidden compartments and modular components designed to convert to escape vessels. Most importantly, the stealth systems Professor Kang's team developed were being installed on thousands of vessels. Each day, more ships gained the capability to slip past hegemony sensors. Professor Kang rarely left her laboratory. Her team worked in shifts, but she pushed herself mercilessly. One evening, as she stared at test results, her vision blurred from exhaustion. "You should rest," Dr. Bai suggested, placing a cup of coffee beside her. Kang shook her head. "My family is in Seoul. My parents are too old for early evacuation priority. They'll only get out if we perfect this technology in time." Dr. Bai understood. Everyone working on Operation Phantom had loved ones whose lives depended on their success. Meanwhile, Diplomat Yoon led the stalling team, engaging Ambassador Ta with endless questions. Their meetings stretched longer each day, as Earth requested clarifications on tribute requirements. "We wish to understand the exact composition requirements for mineral tributes," Yoon said with practiced deference during their 12th meeting. "Our scientists need precise specifications for iron content. The variation between ore sources on our planet is significant." Ambassador Tae's crystalline exoskeleton shifted in what the humans had learned was a sign of irritation. "I have provided general parameters already." "Indeed, Ambassador, and we are grateful. However, efficient collection requires precise understanding. For example, our preliminary analysis shows that meeting your iron oxide requirements would require processing approximately 30 million tons of raw material. Is this calculation correct?" The question forced Tai to consult his database, buying Earth another precious hour as he verified the figures. "Your calculation is inadequate. You will need to process 42 million tons to meet quality standards," Ta finally answered. "Thank you for this clarification," Yoon replied, making elaborate notes. Now, regarding the chromium requirements. The meeting continued for another 4 hours with similar minutiae. Ambassador Ta showed increasing annoyance but provided the requested details. The hegemony remained unaware that each clarification bought Earth precious days. After the meeting, Yoon reported to the Emergency Council. "We gained another day." Each question forces them to consult their databases and provide specific answers to avoid inefficient tribute collection. "How much longer can you keep this up?" President Lee asked. 2 more weeks at most." Tai is growing suspicious of our detailed questions. Director Han displayed the latest evacuation statistics. "We've moved 12% of the population to secure underground facilities or orbital platforms. The first stealth colony ships leave tomorrow. We need more time." "We have another strategy," Yoon said. "We're requesting a tour of a nearby tribute world to better understand expectations. If approved, this could buy us another week." In Professor Kang's laboratory, a breakthrough came at 3 a.m. She jolted awake from her desk when the computer alarm sounded. "We've done it," Dr. Bai announced, his face glowing in the screen's light. The stealth field completely masked the test vessel from the hegemony sensor we replicated. Their own technology can't see through our shield. Kang rushed to verify the results. "Run it again," she ordered. They repeated the test 3 times with the same result. The small prototype vessel disappeared completely from the alien sensors. Colonel Ju received the news with rare emotion, his voice breaking slightly. "Begin immediate implementation across all evacuation vessels." "They don't understand what we're doing," Yoon reported back after another meeting with Ta. "Their cultural database shows no precedent for entire planetary evacuations. The concept is beyond their strategic thinking. This was Earth's greatest advantage. The hegemony, despite their advanced technology, thought in predictable patterns. They expected tribute worlds to either comply or resist in place. The idea of abandoning a planet was incomprehensible to them. As the first stealth evacuation ships prepared for departure, carrying thousands of civilians to temporary habitats on Mars and beyond, Professor Kang finally returned home to visit her parents. "The government says we should prepare for tribute collection," her father said over dinner. "They're saying some people will need to relocate." Kang looked at her parents' faces, lined with age and concern. "Yes, there will be relocations," she said carefully, unable to reveal the truth. "Your neighborhood is on the list. I've made arrangements." 2 days later, she watched from the control room as her parents boarded evacuation transport number 437, disguised as a routine civilian helicopter flight. As the transport disappeared into the clouds, heading for a secret launch facility, Kang returned to her laboratory. The greatest deception in human history was working. While the hegemony watched for signs of resistance or submission, humanity prepared for an option the aliens couldn't imagine: disappearance. "How long until we reach minimum viable evacuation?" Colonel Ju asked during the daily update. 6 more weeks at accelerated pace." Director Han replied. "We can move 70% of the population by the deadline. And the rest? We'll need more time. The final phase requires the hegemony to believe we're complying while we evacuate the remaining populations." Ju nodded grimly. "Then we make them believe." Under cover of night, families across Earth said goodbye to their homes. In Seoul, the Bak family stood in their living room one last time. 9-year-old Jun clutched his worn stuffed tiger. His mother adjusted his evacuation tag and checked that his single allowed bag contained his essentials. "Remember what we practiced," she whispered. "Stay quiet during transport. No questions until we reach the safety zone." Jun nodded solemnly. Children adapted quickly to the new reality. In the 7 weeks since the hegemony's arrival, they had learned evacuation drills in school, replacing ordinary lessons. Outside, transport vehicles with darkened windows moved through the streets. Neighborhood evacuation coordinators checked names against tablets, directing people to their assigned vehicles. The family of 4 joined 30 others in a transport marked with a shipping company logo. "Tribute preparation personnel," the vehicle's documentation stated. The hegemony observers who occasionally scanned such transports saw only workers heading to collection facilities. The vehicle drove to what appeared to be a warehouse district. Inside the largest building, the floor descended, revealing a massive underground launch facility. 5 cylindrical vessels waited, each capable of carrying 2,000 people to orbit. Similar scenes played out in cities and towns worldwide. Humanity moved in darkness, slipping away while maintaining the illusion of normal activity. Automated cars followed programmed routes during daylight. Power usage in empty homes fluctuated naturally. Computer systems simulated normal internet traffic. Captain Min checked her instruments one final time before initiating launch sequence. Her vessel, Departure 217, carried 10,000 civilians bound for the hidden colony designated Sanctuary 3. The ship had been constructed in sections, disguised as orbital tribute processing stations, then assembled using stealth technology. Like support at optimal levels, she announced to her bridge crew. Civilian quarters secured for launch. The massive ship hummed as its engines powered up. Despite its size, the vessel's stealth systems would render it invisible to hegemony detection once it reached orbit. Stealth systems functioning at optimal levels, her second officer Joe confirmed. Hegemony satellites are not tracking us. The ship rose silently through the atmosphere. Below, the launch bay closed, its surface transforming back into an ordinary warehouse roof. By morning, there would be no evidence of the departure. On the bridge, Captain Min watched Earth grow smaller on her view screen. Departure 217 would travel beyond the solar system to a star system carefully selected by astronomers. close enough to reach quickly but unremarkable enough to avoid hegemony interest. In the civilian quarters, families settled into cramped but functional living pods. The Bach family found their assigned space, a room just large enough for 4 sleeping platforms and a small common area. "How long will we live here?" Jun asked, placing his stuffed tiger on his bed. "Just during the journey," his father answered. 3 weeks. Then we'll help build our new home on Sanctuary 3. The boy nodded and unpacked his few possessions. Adults carried knowledge instead of things. Doctors had medical data. Engineers had technical plans. Teachers had educational materials. Humanity brought what it needed to rebuild. Billions departed Earth in waves. The evacuations followed a carefully orchestrated schedule, maintaining the appearance of normal planetary activity through automated systems and a skeleton crew of volunteers. In New Brasilia, evacuation manager Gil oversaw the departure of the city's final residential sector. Sector G7 clear, he reported over the secure channel, beginning automated system activation. His team moved through empty apartment buildings, activating special devices that simulated human presence, heat signatures, water usage, power consumption. Holographic projectors near windows created the illusion of movement inside. In public spaces, sophisticated drones occasionally took human form, visible enough to maintain the illusion of occupation. As his team finished, Gil checked his watch. Their own evacuation vessel departed in 6 hours. They were among the last 500,000 humans on a planet that once held over 8 billion. Captain CO commanded Departure 918, one of the final evacuation ships. As evacuees boarded, he received updated intelligence from orbit. Hegemony tribute fleet detected at the edge of the solar system. His communications officer reported. Estimated arrival in 3 days. CO's vessel was nearly full. "Accelerate final boarding," he ordered. "We launch in 2 hours." Across Earth, the last evacuation ships prepared for departure. Only the volunteer skeleton crew would remain. 100,000 people who would maintain the illusion of a compliant planet until the very end. Colonel Ju led this final team. They occupied key facilities, ready to interact with the hegemony if necessary, while the automated systems maintained the illusion of a populated planet. "The deception needs to hold for just 72 hours, he told his volunteers. "Once the hegemony begins collection operations, the final evacuation ships will depart. No one gets left behind." Director Hand oversaw the final evacuation phase from the underground command center beneath Mount Hala. The facility, built into an extinct volcano, served as humanity's last command post on Earth. Video feeds from around the world showed empty cities teeming with simulated life. Traffic systems operated normally. Power grids functioned at typical capacity. Communications networks buzzed with automated messages. "Status report," Han requested, her voice showing the strain of weeks without proper rest. 97% of the population has been evacuated, and 8 reported. Remaining ships are ready for launch when the hegemony fleet approaches. Han studied the global evacuation map. Green indicators showed completed zones. Only a few yellow areas remained, the final evacuation ships preparing for departure. And the automated systems, all functioning at planned levels. Hegemony observational satellites continue to record normal patterns of human activity. Han nodded grimly. The cities are empty but appear active. Power consumption, communications, transportation systems, all running on automated loops. The stage is set. She zoomed in on a satellite view of Tokyo. From orbit, the city appeared normal. Lights blinked in office buildings. Trains moved along their tracks. But no humans walked the streets, only occasional drones maintaining the illusion. In orbit, Professor Kang monitored the stealth field surrounding Earth's moon, which now concealed humanity's largest temporary settlement. 1 million people occupy the underground lunar facilities, waiting for evacuation ships to carry them to permanent colonies. "Has there been any indication the hegemony suspects?" she asked the monitoring team. "None," the lead technician confirmed. Their communications remain focused on tribute collection procedures. No security alerts have been detected. Kang allowed herself a small smile. Her stealth technology had performed beyond expectations. The greatest migration in human history had occurred right under the alien sensors. On departure 217, Jun Baek pressed his face against the viewing port as Earth became a small blue dot in the distance. His mother placed a hand on his shoulder. "Will we ever go back?" he asked. She looked at the shrinking planet, knowing it would soon appear abandoned to the hegemony. "Someday," she promised, "when we're ready." The last civilian evacuation ships broke orbit, their stealth systems masking their departure. Behind them, Earth waited, a hollow shell about to spring history's greatest surprise on an unsuspecting empire. Grand Admiral Du stood on the command deck of the Inevitable Dominance, his flagship that stretched nearly 3 kilometers from bow to stern. The massive collection fleet behind him contained 200 vessels, each designed to extract specific resources from Earth. Some would collect minerals, others biological specimens, and the largest would transport human subjects for cultural exchange, a euphemism for the labor camps that powered hegemony luxury worlds. The Admiral's crystalline exoskeleton shimmered with status markings indicating his 500 years of service to the hegemony. He had overseen the integration of 37 worlds into the tribute system. Earth would be his 38th. "Visual of the target world, Admiral," the sensor officer announced. The main screen displayed Earth, blue and cloud-streaked. Data streams indicated normal power signatures, communication networks, and transportation systems typical of a developing civilization. "The humans have been surprisingly compliant," Du remarked to his second-in-command, Sub-Admiral Jin. "Usually new tribute worlds require at least a small demonstration of force." Jin nodded, his smaller frame showing fewer status markings. Ambassador Ta reports they requested extensive information about tribute requirements. "They appear eager to meet expectations." "Efficient," Du noted with approval. "Perhaps this integration will proceed smoothly for once." The collection fleet moved into position, spreading across Earth's orbit in a carefully choreographed pattern. Each vessel aligned with its designated collection zone. "Sir, collection ships report reaching designated coordinates," Jin said, reviewing incoming transmissions. "They await your command to begin retrieval operations." Du performed the traditional gesture of acquisition, raising his primary limbs toward the view screen. "Proceed." Throughout the fleet, collection vessels began their descent through Earth's atmosphere. They targeted major cities and resource-rich regions across every continent. The largest ships, each capable of holding 50,000 humans, descended toward population centers. On the ground, Colonel Ju and his skeleton crew watched the alien ships descend from their hidden command center. The last evacuation vessel waited nearby, its engines warm. "Collection ships entering lower atmosphere," a technician reported. "Tracking all vessels on predicted paths." Ju nodded. "Maintain automated systems at full operation. No direct communication unless absolutely necessary." The first hegemony vessel landed in what had once been New York City's Central Park. Its massive hull crushed trees as loading ramps extended onto the grass. Robotic collection units deployed, moving toward the buildings surrounding the park. Inside those buildings, sophisticated holographic projectors created fleeting images of human movement. Heat signatures simulated occupied spaces. Automated voice systems responded to hegemony communications. "Tribute collection point established," the hegemony commander reported. "Beginning preliminary sweep." Similar scenes played out globally. In Shanghai, Paris, Lagos, Sydney, and dozens of other cities, collection ships landed and deployed their forces. They found functioning infrastructure, powered systems, moving vehicles, everything indicating a living city, except humans. On the Inevitable Dominance, Grand Admiral Du received the first puzzling reports. "Sir, Collection Team 7 reports anomalies in Santiago," Jin said, his voice showing confusion. They detect electronic systems, but no biological signatures. Equipment malfunction. Due dismissed. Order recalibration. But within minutes, similar reports arrived from collection teams worldwide. The pattern became impossible to ignore. "Sir, something is wrong," Jin reported, his posture showing increasing alarm. "We're receiving automated responses from Earth's systems, but landing teams report all collection points are empty of biological life." Du's crystalline form stiffened. "Explain." "The cities appear functional, power systems running, communications active, transport networks operating, but there are no humans. None. Anywhere. Impossible." Du moved to the sensor station, pushing aside the operator. He examined the readings himself. Scan for subsurface structures. They must be hiding. The sensor operators complied, sending deep scanning pulses through Earth's crust. The results showed many underground facilities, all empty. "Check orbital space. Every satellite, station, everything," Du ordered. The sensors swept outward, finding Earth's primitive space stations and satellites. All functional, all automated, all empty. "Sir," Jin said quietly, "we're detecting no human life signs on the planet or in orbit." Confusion turned to rage as Admiral Du realized the deception. He smashed a control panel with one crystalline limb, shattering both the equipment and parts of his own appendage. "Impossible," he roared. "A pre-FTL civilization cannot simply disappear." He activated the fleet-wide communication system. All vessels increase scan parameters. Search the entire solar system. Find the humans. The fleet redirected resources to scanning operations. Ships broke orbit to investigate other planets and moons in the system. Hours passed with the same result. Automated systems running on Mars colonies, lunar stations operating normally, even the primitive outposts on distant moons, all empty of biological life. "Sir," Jin reported after a full day of searching, "we found something." Du moved to the command station immediately. "Show me." Propulsion signatures leaving the solar system. Hundreds of them, possibly thousands. But they're unusual. Our sensors barely detected them. Du studied the readings. The human vessels had used some form of stealth technology that masked them from hegemony sensors. Most disturbing, the technology appeared based on hegemony principles. "When did these departures occur?" Du demanded. Jin checked the data. "Based on trajectory analysis, over the past 7 weeks. Since first contact." 7 weeks. While Ambassador Ta was answering endless questions about tribute requirements, the humans had been leaving. The entire planet had evacuated right under the hegemony sensors. "Find them," Du ordered. "Launch pursuit vessels immediately." "Sir," Jin replied hesitantly, "the signature trails dissipate completely beyond the solar system boundary. We cannot determine their destinations." Du stood silent, his crystalline form vibrating with rage. In 5 centuries of service, he had never encountered such a situation. The hegemony protocols had no procedure for a species that abandoned their homeworld rather than submit to tribute. "They took everything of value," a resource officer reported. "Data centers erased, research facilities emptied, even infrastructure components removed. They left nothing but shells." He ordered planetary bombardment in his fury, but found little satisfaction in destroying empty cities and automated decoys. The weapons fire simply eliminated the elaborate stage setting the humans had created. In the hidden command center, Colonel Ju and his skeleton crew watched the bombardment begin on their monitors. "Time to leave," he ordered. The last humans on Earth boarded their vessel as explosions rocked the distant cities. As their ship engaged its stealth systems and rose toward orbit, Ju looked back at the planet through a viewing port. Hegemony weapons created fiery patterns across Earth's surface, destroying cities that had already been abandoned. "They still don't understand," he said to his crew. "They never considered that we would choose to leave rather than submit." The ship accelerated away from Earth, its stealth systems rendering it invisible to the raging Admiral Du and his frustrated fleet. Ahead lay the coordinates where humanity waited among the stars, preparing for the day they would return. 5 years later, June sat in the command chair of the stealth cruiser Defiance. The vessel hovered undetected at the edge of a hegemony supply route. Through the view screen, 6 large cargo ships appeared, escorted by 2 military vessels. Their hulls gleamed with the distinctive crystalline patterns of hegemony design. June's fingers tapped the armrest as he studied the convoy. At 32, he had already spent 5 years as a ship captain in humanity's growing resistance fleet. Like many officers, he had been a civilian before the evacuation, a history teacher with no military experience. Necessity had transformed millions of ordinary people into warriors. Target acquired. Tactical Officer Hannah reported, her eyes not leaving her display. Supply convoy carrying processed minerals from Tribute World 327. Scans show primarily iridium and palladium. June nodded. Composition of escort vessels. Standard patrol cruisers, particle beam weapons, quantum shields. Crew of approximately 40 each. And the cargo ships. Minimal defensive capabilities. Skeleton crews of 15 to 20. June studied the tactical display. The Defiance remained completely invisible to hegemony sensors, thanks to Professor Kang's continuously improved stealth technology. The ship could strike and disappear before the hegemony even realized they were under attack. Begin attack sequence, June ordered. Disable engines and communications first. Standard extraction protocol. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. The Defiance glided closer, its weapons targeting key systems on the escort vessels. Weapons charge, Hannah confirmed. Targets locked. Fire. The Defiance struck without warning. Precise energy beams sliced through the escort's engine sections. Before alarms could sound, secondary shots disabled their communication arrays. The hegemony vessels drifted, suddenly powerless in the void. Boarding teams, launch, June ordered. From the Defiance's launch bays, 4 smaller craft emerged, each carrying 20 Marines equipped with weapons reverse-engineered from hegemony technology. They approached the cargo vessels, whose crews surrendered almost immediately when they realized their escorts could provide no help. Within minutes, the hegemony escorts were disabled, and the supply ships captured intact. Human crews boarded each vessel, securing hegemony prisoners and preparing the ships for transport. All ships secured, Captain, Hannah reported. Minimal resistance. 3 minor injuries on our side. Cargo intact. June allowed himself a small smile. Set course for New Terra. Bring the captured vessels. The Defiance and its prizes disappeared into deep space, leaving behind only disabled hegemony escorts with emergency life support. By the time help arrived, the humans would be long gone, with ships and resources that would strengthen their growing fleet. Across unexplored space, humanity had established 37 hidden colonies. Using technology adapted from the hegemony's own designs, humans had become masters of stealth warfare. Each colony specialized in different aspects of their new civilization. Some focused on agriculture, others on manufacturing or research. New Terra, the largest colony, served as humanity's temporary capital. Located in a star system far from known hegemony space, its position remained a closely guarded secret. The planet's surface featured growing settlements, while most of the population lived in vast underground complexes, a habit retained from their early days of hiding. In his office on New Terra, Chancellor Day reviewed reports from resistance cells throughout hegemony space. At 65, he had been a diplomatic aide during first contact with the hegemony. Now he led humanity's government in exile. Raid on Tribute World 212 successful, he read aloud to his council members. 2,000 locals freed and evacuated to Safe Haven Colony. The council members nodded in approval. Humanity's strategy had evolved beyond mere survival. They now actively undermined hegemony control, targeting vulnerable tribute worlds and offering escape to oppressed populations. What about the Viridian operation? asked Defense Minister Song. Day switched to another report. Successful infiltration of their central data hub. We now have access to hegemony shipping schedules for the entire quadrant. Minister Han, formerly director of Earth's intelligence service, displayed a star map showing recent raid locations. The hegemony still doesn't understand our strategy. They've increased patrols along major trade routes, but we simply avoid those areas. Most importantly, Dai added, other subjugated species have begun to hear the story of Earth, the world that chose to flee rather than submit, and rebellions are stirring. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. What had begun as humanity's desperate bid for survival was evolving into something larger, a full-scale resistance against the hegemony's empire. The latest communications intercepts show interesting developments, Han continued. On 7 tribute worlds, local populations have begun using Earth as a symbol of resistance. They share our story in secret gatherings. On a nearby world called Lyris, local resistance fighters had adopted Earth's symbol as their own. They struck at night, leaving behind Earth's image, a blue circle with green continents. Hegemony officials couldn't understand the significance, but the locals knew. It represented hope that submission wasn't inevitable. The hegemony still doesn't understand, Dad told his council. They believed we would choose between submission or destruction. They never considered we might choose door number 3. On his desk sat a small globe of Earth, a reminder of what was lost, and what would someday be reclaimed. The holographic reproduction showed a planet now scared by hegemony bombardment. In their rage, the aliens had destroyed many cities before departing. And Project Homecoming? Asked Minister Song. Day nodded to Chief Scientist Kang, who rose from her seat. The professor was now in her 60s, her hair completely white, but her eyes retained their intensity. The Liberation Fleet includes 50 capital ships and 200 support vessels, she reported, all equipped with advanced stealth and weapon systems. Our advantage remains significant. The hegemony still hasn't adapted their detection systems to counter our stealth technology. Casualties? Minister Song asked. Simulations show we would lose approximately 20% of our fleet in a direct engagement with hegemony forces at Earth. But if we maintain surprise, we can secure the planet before they mount an effective defense. Chancellor Dai stood and walked to the window. Outside, New Terra's landscape stretched toward distant mountains. Children who had been born after the evacuation played in parks, never having seen the real Earth. They knew it only from stories and historical records. 5 years ago, we fled to survive, Daz said. We've built new homes, expanded our technology, and begun to fight back. But we haven't forgotten where we came from. He turned back to the council. It's time for the next phase. The hegemony believed they taught us a lesson about power. Now we will teach them one about perseverance. Day picked up the Earth globe, studying its familiar continents. Prepare the Liberation Fleet, he ordered. It's time we showed the hegemony that humans don't just flee. We return. That evening, Jun walked through New Terra's Memorial Garden. Stone monuments displayed images of Earth's cities, landscapes, and landmarks. Many young children had never seen these places except in such displays. Among them was Jun Buck, now 14 years old, studying the image of Seoul's skyline. Jun recognized him as the son of Dr. Baek, one of the colony's medical directors. Will we ever go back? Jun asked when he noticed Jun's captain uniform. Jun smiled. We're going back very soon. I just received my assignment to the Liberation Fleet. Jun's eyes widened. Really? We're taking Earth back? Yes. The hegemony thought we abandoned our home forever. They never understood that sometimes you need to retreat before you can advance. As Jun continued walking, he passed hundreds of families enjoying the evening in the garden. They had survived. They had built new homes. But Earth remained in their hearts, not just a planet, but a promise that no power in the galaxy could crush the human spirit. Above New Terra's settlements, the Liberation Fleet gathered. Ships constructed in secret over 5 years moved into formation. Their hulls bore the names of Earth's cities and nations. The largest vessel, the flagship Liberation, carried Chancellor Day's simple message to be broadcast when they reached Earth. We have returned, and we are not alone. The end